Okay, so I'll continue with the demonstration. This is part 2, and there will be less narration, if any. You can also at some points use cross-hatching as well. So I've been using hatching, but then when you start going the other direction, then you're using cross-hatching. So I can use cross-hatching when I want to reinforce the overall rounded form, or when I just want to layer the value and make it darker. So now over here, I might not want to see this as a hard line so much as I want to have that form come out through a change in value. So I can press lightly here and get this lighter value with my digital pencil or with the real pencil. So even though in class we have all of these different levels, you can get a lot of different levels with value with just your normal everyday number 2 pencil, which is the same as the HB pencil you guys are using in class. Over here, you can go back and erase some of those guidelines that we don't want anymore, or areas where the outline is too heavy. So when I'm taking a second to pause, I'm just looking at the original drawing and just comparing what I've already done to Albrecht Durer's original, and trying to decide what I need to work on next. And notice here, so even with the digital pencil, without getting a much heavier, larger eraser, I can actually pick up all the white, or I'm sorry, all the gray, so I can actually, though, distract from that by using a lighter value of shading there. And it becomes, well, not completely invisible. It becomes far less noticeable. So there, I want to create that edge. And then the edge of the rabbit ear over here is white. And then it's darker on the interior of the ear. And then again, on this side, it's darker around this white part. So here, rather than making lots of little separate lines, I'm shading more. So here the texture isn't as noticeable. It's a smoother texture to the fur on the ears. So rather than using hatching and cross hatching, I'm just shading. Notice sometimes to get a smooth texture, I'm actually making circles. So over here, again, I'm going to go back and erase some of my underdrawing. Let's see what happens if I use that. It's a more powerful digital eraser. But I still want to go back in there and try to get those same areas of light and shadow. I just don't want a line defining it. And I will say I'm not as experienced with using the digital tools as I am with tactile materials or a real pencil. So probably would have done more erasing of my underdrawing if I were a little more familiar with the digital tools. So I might recommend just a little more erasing, but then you can still see on the paper where that original line was and help you use that as your guide or remember where it was while making a less distinct line where you're just making a distinction based on the shading instead of a hard edge. So notice here the direction that my hatching and cross hatching is going is in line with the fur that you can see in Durer's piece. So some of my hatching and cross hatching might be looking a little sloppy. Again, I'm going to blame my digital tools, but Maybe you're struggling with the regular pencil the same way I am with the digital pencil. But just do your best, and the more you practice, the better you'll get with it. And so now I'm just going back and I'm just saying, okay, where do I see texture in Albrecht Dürer's original that I don't see it on mine? Where can my drawing benefit a little bit from more shading, more contrast? And here, maybe a little less contrast. You can still go back. And the eyes look a little off to me, so I will go back and continue to adjust and shade and erase. And the question, whenever you think, oh, well, something doesn't look quite right, go back and just compare it to the thing it is you're trying to draw. And just ask yourself, what's different? It's like those games you might have played when you were younger where you had to compare the two pictures and find the subtle differences. So if you were good at those, then this might be a little easier. But again, seeing those subtle differences is something you'll get better at with practice. So notice that those areas where you might focus a lot because we're interested in an animal's face, just the same way we are in a human's face. Those are going to be areas where I'm spending a little more time. Oh, and look at this. I can use the digital eraser just like I might regular eraser to get a little more blending happening. So if you need to blend more, your digital, your real eraser is good for blending. Notice here I'm doing a lot of actually kind of blurring things. A lot of times people think, oh, it's about getting really sharp lines everywhere and getting them perfect. But sometimes having things a little bit blurry will actually help. Alright, so I'm just straightening up now, and I'm taking a look at the whole picture. Again, I'm looking for differences. One of the first things I noticed was that in Durer's original, he's got these whiskers on the rabbit, so I'm going to go ahead and add those. He's also got these eyebrow whiskers. So noticing a few differences here in the feet. Alright, and then finally I could take, you might be using your finger or a Q-tip. In this case with the digital tools, I'm using a softer pencil tool and a combination of that with the erasing tool, but for you to blend here, but for you might be using your finger or a paper towel or a Q-tip to blend some of these areas just a little bit more where you want a little bit of a softer effect, and you kind of balance out where do I need crisp details, where do I want a sense of where do I want a sense of real specificity and texture, and in other places where do I want more of a sense of kind of a smoothness and a unity. And I'm actually using the same technique I was telling you about in class, where you can color in an area darker than you ultimately want it. And then you can go back and use the eraser as kind of a blending tool. So we'll see how that works digitally. If I'd been more intentional in my mark making, it might have worked out a little bit better. So I need to watch my craftsmanship there. But I think you guys get the general picture. So if I make a mistake, I can also go back and forth. Ooh, this is nice. I can go back and forth, and I can go back over that mistake. Sometimes layering the value will help you if you've had an area there where you've where it's become a little bit less intentional than you really wanted it to be. So just go back. So you can see from this, I don't do everything perfectly all at once. I'm definitely going back and fixing mistakes. Looks like I found a tool here that will allow me to do a little more blending, keep more of some of these areas a little softer, make the texture kind of go back a bit. And I can also leave a lighter area there as a highlight. And this is allowing me to think about the overall form in light and shadow. In addition, to the texture. So you might be able to do this by blending with your eraser. And then again, if there are places where maybe you've gone overboard, you can erase out, and you can kind of give that erasing kind of a mark-making feel to it. So I'm making that forward ear pop out in front of the back ear. Make that shadow feel more gradual. And then, I think I'm just about done here. I'm just kind of futzing, which I could do for a long time. But for the sake of this demo, I think I will call that done. And then I will finish up by signing my name. And Albert Durer actually used this little monogram. So I will also, since my initials are AB, instead of AD. We'll use AB there. And I think he also did the year, so I will do 2017. Just placing that underneath since I didn't have enough room above. Okay, thanks for your attention, guys.